Welcome to my channel, Redeeming Thunder. My name is Erica, and I'm here to give you a warning prophetic word. This word was given to me on 3/11/2025. I'm now recording it in December. Typically, these prophetic words manifest about 5 to 6 months out. So from March until now, it's been 8 months. So you may have already been experiencing this. If not, it's still happening. Okay? And the reason why it's still happening, because continue to watch chapter 49 segments, because there is more warning of monitoring spirits. Now, on this prophetic word, though, the monitoring spirit has been caught. And now judgment is being administered to the witches that have been trying to sabotage your destiny. Okay? So this is chapter 49, part 1. And I was given the number 50. So I will go through what that means. We are in divine deliverance in this hour from your enemies. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you to the Most High, because you are moving out of the darkness of the night stage and you're entering into the daytime, the day stage of sunrise. Okay? Which means of light, of day. No more darkness. Okay? The enemy is now getting all caught up in their own wrath that they tried to administer to you. The prophetic word is Yahusha Isa. Okay, so Esau stands for Yahuwah contends, or he who struggles with Yahuwah. Is a derivative of the name Issachar, and the meaning is there is reward. So for all your suffering, okay, that you've endured through these monitoring spirits, and when I say monitoring spirits, I don't just mean ghosts. I don't just mean demonic activity that are invisible spirits. I'm talking about individuals in your life who have been quite difficult people. Okay? Haunting people, hauntly people who the spirits within them that are evil are orchestrating all kinds of havoc in your life. Not anymore, though. Okay? You're on a different stage in your life, and Yahuwah is saying he is defending you in this hour, and there is reward. Okay, so here I received this prophetic word through a dream. So in this dream, I saw this family in a new home. Okay? I saw this woman go to the bedroom, and she was looking at old birthday cards that she had received. Okay? And there was a card that she wrote to her mother, and it had an attached gift card. Excuse me. Okay. Not that she wrote, but that her family member wrote her and left a gift card. She just found it. Okay? She just found it in a pile of other cards that she had long forgotten about it. She grabbed the card and she saw that it had $50 gift card amount on it. Then she went back to the living room and she had told her husband, let's go out to Olive Garden. We can use this gift card. And he looked up and said, oh, okay. Then suddenly that individual who gave her that card had sent her husband a message and saying that she was going to pick up one of her sons for an appointment. And so this woman was surprised and she was like, wait a minute, I don't know of any appointment. I didn't set up any arrangement, okay, for any pickup or any assistance with transportation. This was kind of came up all out of the blue, okay? She looks out the window from the living room while standing in front of the son that was supposedly going to be picked up, and he was sleeping and he was covered under a blanket. Okay? Now, I noted down here that it wasn't clear if he was hiding and trying to be hidden under a blanket or if he was actually sleeping. And so this woman said, no, she is not. This is my parenting time, and that she is able to take him to any appointments that are for him. She does not need any assistance transporting him to any appointments. Okay, and so what was going on is that other family member made arrangements with the other parent. So they were colluding together. And that other parent made an appointment for the son. And it was not his parenting time, it was hers. But somehow her family member, okay, was assisting the ex with his errands. And it wasn't even for her. That's why she was not aware, because she did not make this appointment. Okay? And so then in the dream, the husband said to this woman, well, she's coming. And suddenly when he said that, there she was wrapping around the corner on the sidewalk, and she was at the front door. Okay? Eagerly and with some urgency, walking quickly to the door. And she just came right in. So in the dream, I wasn't sure if the door was open or was open to crack, but it's like she just opened the door. And she's like, okay, is he ready? And then this woman said, no, you cannot take him. In fact, you can leave. Because in that moment, she had made arrangements behind her back. Okay? With the other individual. And I know you're thinking right now at first hand, what's the big deal? He made a doctor's appointment for the child. It looks caring. If you can understand the dynamic here and the feelings behind her emotions, because I could feel the woman's emotions. She felt violated. She felt betrayed. And she didn't feel it was safe, because she realized in that moment that those two were colluding against her the entire time, making side deals. And that family member, that ancestor, would come only as a monitoring spirit. Okay? To eavesdrop and to cause some havoc, and to monitoring spirits come and they look like friends, but they're like friend enemies. Okay? And they look to assist. So they're going to come and they're probably going to, I need you to wake up here. It's time to have high discernment. Because the reason why you could have some delays in your path to your destiny, to the promised land, etc., 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 it could be because you still have certain monitoring spirits around you. And these monitoring spirits are, quote unquote, also witches. Okay? Because then they take back the little secrets, the little tidbits of details of your life that they came and supposedly came to hang out, genuinely hang out with you. And they go and they gather some information that's not for all to hear. And they twist the story. And they share a different narrative that tries to slander and gossip and defame your character. Okay? To cause havoc so that there's more betrayal that occurs continuously, and or tries to sabotage if you are on a streak of great fortune, prosperity. Sometimes these monitoring just all of a sudden do a surprise visit, okay? And they try to steal virtue. They try to steal blessings. And how they do that is they give you a quick kiss and hug, like a Judas kiss and hug, okay? Or they drop off certain gifts, or they drop off money. When witches do that, when you take the money, you spend it, that is how you get cursed with the spirit of poverty. Because then they take that blessing of prosperity and they take it from themselves. They just need you to take the money that they gave you, that you didn't ask for, and they need you to spend it. That's how witches do their biddings, okay? Another way that they steal virtue is by hugging and kissing you, by touching your body. That's why you don't just hug anybody, okay? Not everybody that's putting their hands on you, and don't let anybody pray over you, okay? I know it sounds so silly and you're thinking, I love my family, I love my friends, they're all for me, but we need to wake up and smell the coffee here, okay? Because Yahuwah the Most High didn't give me this dream regarding someone that's close to you for just, fun and games here. He gave it for a reason. And this had been a continuous warning of the same lady with the same family member, of the same trickery. But this time around, there is a specific number that's given. And this time around, the monitoring spirits can no longer do what they were doing. Okay? So let's continue to listen on what occurred in the dream. So this family member, when she came and she realized she could not take that child with her, okay? That piece in itself is correct. That warning in itself is confirmation word. And it really did happen in this woman that I dream about. It really did happen in her life. Those two individuals were colluding. And then by a separate source, it was confirmed. So this is all not made up. And that piece of confirmation was received in July or June. Yet I had this dream in April. Okay, now we're in December and I'm revealing this full disclosure of confirmation betrayal and confirmation colluding with the enemy who was supposed to be on your side. Okay? Now, in the dream, when this woman had said, you can leave, because she just realized that there was some colluding with the enemy. Okay? She then says, because they're now, the husband was holding a baby. And she's like, what about the baby? I haven't seen her. So a baby in a dream could signify a ministry, a prophetic promise of a ordained spouse union. It could represent a project, a divine project. Okay? It could represent, this particular baby represented the mantle of Esther. Okay? And it seemed like this woman knew that's what it represented, and she didn't want that family member to hold the baby, because she said, you need to leave now. So then in the dream, the husband was looking at the woman, his wife, and said, and then looked at the family member and says, she doesn't want you here, you have to go. He opened the door wider and she walked out the door. Okay? So there are some boundaries that need to be set and have to be concrete. Because the Most High can only give you these divine blessings if you are protective of your divine blessings. Because some people are want to hold onto that baby, okay? But they only want to be close enough either to steal virtue of it and or to sabotage the plans. Why? Because they are working as a monitoring spirit. And you check the pattern of the person. You don't check false promises, what you wish they would behave like. Okay? You pay attention to the pattern. You pay attention to the energy coming off in the dream, how you felt in the dream of that person. Okay? And some of these individuals are going to come in and love bomb all on you. So what she was trying to do is do a whole love bomb with the baby and want to be all cuddly and wanted to be all of a sudden wanted to be, excuse me, loving on the individual. But you know how it is when you're being a mother, if you're a mother, and you don't feel comfortable with certain people, you know, out on the street. You don't feel comfortable with certain babysitters. You don't feel comfortable maybe with certain family members or whatever. You have this vibe. There's a certain feeling. Well, that's what this woman felt in the dream. Okay? And so you listen to your gut feeling. And that's the moral of the story here. There was a gut feeling about these individuals, and it ended up being correct. And then it also ended up being confirmed by other individuals who confirmed that was their secret agenda all along, is to sabotage your family, the family dynamic, to sabotage the destiny. Okay? But they can no longer do so and listen in on. As he was going to close the door, in the dream now, she saw this family member stop. So in between these apartment homes was a storage closet. Okay? And so she stopped and looked at the door. So he still had the front door open, watching her stop and look at the door, and said something to someone who was hiding out behind the closed outside storage door. Okay? And she says, "Come on." And she said her name. And she says, "Are you still in there?" She's like, "Come on." And she said her name. "We have to go." So if you understand what just happened here, there was another monitoring spirit hiding in the storage closet right outside the door. And the reason why initially that door just swung open was it could be possibly that you have left a crack open for monitoring spirits to just come weaseling in and out of your life. Because initially they should have just knocked, right? And it should have been locked and the person could decide to open the door or not. But it wasn't like that. That means they still had some kind of access to you. Okay? Initially. So now it is confirmed that this family member, okay, was colluding with another individual that was a monitoring spirit, and there was like a trio of them working and trying to gather insight about your own lives to then continue to be witches and slander and gossip. And with their slander and gossip comes witchcraft, that speaking negative about somebody is witchcraft. Okay? And then that would entail trying to then cause marital problems, okay? And trying to destroy your destiny through their Jezebel and Ahab spirit, okay? And it's almost like if she knew she was there hiding for a while, okay? Suddenly, the woman that was hiding in the closet, she runs out of the storage closet and just, because the door's still open, she rushes into the house, okay? Stammers in. And she began hugging the woman's husband and not letting go. A love bomb. Again. Very irrationally and erratic. And then she rushes towards the baby. Okay? That this woman's husband had just laid down on top of the tall couch. So it was quite wide, so that it was almost like a humongous cushion. And the baby was very small. It was safely secured on that humongous couch cushion. Okay. And she shoves him out of the way. And then she grabs this woman's husband frantically and hugging him, quite squeezing. Okay, again, love bombing. Which is a form of abuse, actually. Because it's not sincere. Okay, it's just trying to do a cycle of abuse all over again. False promises and etc. Okay. So this woman was standing next to the child hiding under the blanket. Okay. When someone is under a blanket, they're being divinely protected, covered by the Most High. Okay. So as she was doing the whole love bombing, the one that came out of the hidden closet, she was explaining how greatly she's changed. Talking positive about herself. And she looks around and she wants to hold the baby. And she's standing there holding a pile of pink blankets, not actually the baby. Okay. Now, in this moment, the Most High has me do a retake vision to confirm that she only had a bundle of blankets in her arms, desiring to hold the baby, not actually the baby. She states while looking over at another child in the dream, and she's saying out loud how she rejects him because he looks like the woman, the husband's wife, only because that reason. And so this woman says, see, I told you she has not changed one bit. This is a spirit of favoritism. Basically, it's a generational curse that needs to be canceled. And she's got to go. That is key factor right there. Now. She has to go now. Okay. And now she firmly is still holding on to her son, his legs. Okay, she has her hands on his legs as he's under the blanket, not budging. She states she accepts the other child only because he looks a lot like the child that's under the blanket. Okay? So it's being selective. So that's how I knew it was a spirit of favoritism. Okay? Then I wake up. Okay, so the colluding has been exposed. There is a relinquish of inheritance being established here. There is monitoring spirits being exposed and ceased and desist. Okay? Be aware that as you're kicking out one monitoring spirit, another will resurface. Okay? Be aware that you can't even leave the door unlocked, even though it's not even cracked open. Now, I'm going to elaborate further on the word 50, on the strong number, 50. It's a Hebrew strong number meaning Abishua. Abishua. Okay, so that derived from the Hebrew word meaning father. Yahusha meaning salvation or deliverance. Remember the gift card had $50 amount on the card. Okay? And quite prophetic times, appointed times in the month of December, we are reaching the time frame of divine judgment. Okay? We are entering that stage for the wicked. And they are going to be now receiving everything that they had set up for you to fail and to sabotage. They are going to now receive without any delay. Okay? And you are going to be receiving deliverance and divine protection. And because such hardship that they have caused and colluded together, Yahuwah is all in to reward you. Because you endured without sinning and without trying to sabotage and give them the same spoonful of medicine that they tried to do to you. Okay? So, Abishua stands for my father is rescue. That is so beautiful right there. My father is plenty. It stands for two Israelites. The names of two Israelites. and 1 Chronicles 6:4, 5, and 50, 8:4, and Ezra 7:5. Now we're going to dive in to 1 Chronicles 6:4. Eleazar begot Phinehas, Phinehas begot Abishua. Pulpit's commentary elaborates further. Eleazar, from this name inclusive follow the 22 which terminate with Jehozadak, who indeed never attained himself to the office of high priest, but was son of Guriah, last high priest before the captivity, and father of Jeshua, high priest, who returned with Zerubbabel from the captivity. It has been pointed out by some scholar named Hervey that the name Jehozadak is of same meaning with Zedekiah, the last king before the captivity, and that Jeshua is the same in meaning with Joshua, the leader of the tribes into Canaan. Okay, that's important to know. Some different translations say different names, but they mean the same person. So Jehozadak is the same person as Zedekiah, the last king before captivity, and Yeshua is the same meaning as Joshua, the leader of the tribes into Canaan. Okay, across the into the promised land, right? Okay, so the two elder brothers of Eleazar, Nadab and Abihu, died without issue. Leviticus 10:1 and Numbers 3:4, 32, Numbers 20:28, and chapter 24 through 1 through 3, if you want to look into that furthermore. It is somewhat obscurely said that the sacred office remained in the family of Eleazar till in the person of Eli. It passed a while into that of Ithamar, his brother. 1 Kings 2:26, 27, and to be recovered again in the Zodok of verse 9. 1 Chronicles 24:3 and 4. Phinehas, a memorable man, Numbers 25:7 through 13, Joshua 22:10-33, and Judges 20:28, and Psalms 106:30, 31, which Grove well compares with Genesis 15:6. These are all confirmations. So something happened here. When those don't enter into office and it skips a generation, okay, that means they weren't holy enough. They weren't consecrated. They weren't set apart. So they were not called for that prestige role, okay? There is a bloodline of high priests and or kings, and then it somehow ceased, and none of them were of the capacity to take on that role. So there was a hold. So that means in our real life, certain individuals did not take the call. They did not do what it took to receive the calling and the mantle. When one becomes a monitoring spirit and rejects Yahuwah's calling on their life and rather become witches and warlocks in the land, they are not going to be chosen. Okay? So it almost like taints that bloodline. Okay? But something happened when this individual, the little boy under the blanket, if you notice, he was divinely covered, protected. And it was the family member in the storage closet and another family member who came rushing in the home. They were colluding together with another individual. All those three are not getting selected. But if you notice, the child was either pretending to sleep or just wanting to be hidden. Okay? And that woman hid her son. So there were some prayers happening. There were some prayers occurring in that family line to cancel the spirit of favoritism. Those that did not want to cancel the spirit of favoritism are not getting selected. Okay? Those that didn't want to cancel the witchcraft and warlock behavior are not getting selected. But the child under the blanket was divinely covered. And there was a reestablishment of kingship and or high priesthood. Reestablishment occurring. That's what it's stating right here. Which is, hallelujah, glory to the Most High. He sees who is willing. He forgives those that break those curses. And he cleanses that bloodline to start over. Okay? And there's some generational curses to ask for forgiveness of the forefathers, of the ancestors, of self, and of the children's sins. In order, there's certain specific prayers that you need to do. If you notice that your bloodline has been tainted with quite so much sin and curses, and you have your offspring, and you want Yahuwah the Most High to receive them with gladness, you want to offer them up to Him to be used by the Most High, and to receive that the blessings of prosperity, the blessings of deliverance of those individuals, right? There is a coverage when they are connected to you. Okay? There is a coverage. Because when you are in the journey of breaking generational curses, you are becoming the DNA of the Most High. And you are becoming an Israelite. All right, so let's read on. Okay, so then it says, this is important right here. Beshua only mentioned in this chapter and Ezra 7:1. Josephus asserts that it was who was succeeded in the high priesthood, not by any one of his own descendants, but by Eli till Zadok. In the time of David, all the intervening members of Eleazar family being private individuals. There's a confirmation there. Who succeeded in the high priesthood. But no reliance can be placed on this assertion, for see Josephus again, 5:11. Judges 20:28. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron. Okay, remember Aaron, he was the first one to establish the royal priesthood. He was the high priest. He initially, okay? Remember him. Stood before it in those days, saying, shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother, or shall I cease? And Yahuwah said, go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand. Something is going to go down for every single one that was pestering spirit, monitoring spirit. Yahuwah is giving you into thine hand. Okay? He's delivering them into thine hand. Okay? So the one under the blanket and the individuals in that family, okay, who had endured that wickedness, there's going to be deliverance. Okay? Genesis 15:6. And he believed in Yahuwah, and he counted it to him for righteousness. So what he's trying to say is, the one under the blanket, he believed in the Most High, Yahuwah. And he became righteous in the eyes of the Most High. He humbled himself. Even a young child, okay? He humbled himself, and he realized there's two routes in his life. The ways of the wicked, that are those ancestors, and or the ways that his parents and that the Most High has for him. And he chose the path of righteousness. This is a humongous deal for those who are, expecting some kind of turnaround for prodigals even. And for those who have been under curses, who have been tortured by a ton of monitoring spirits. Okay? He's saying his righteousness has pulled him out of that family DNA line, and he's becoming one with the Most High. Romans 4:3. For what saith the scripture? Abraham believed Yahuwah, and it was counted unto him for righteousness. Okay, so a little bit more. That promise of Yahuwah concerning the numerousness of his seed. Genesis 15:5. But especially the promise concerning Yahusha. Genesis 12:3. Through whom all nations should be blessed. And it was imputed to him for righteousness. Yahuwah accepted him as if he had been altogether righteous. Genesis 15:6. So basically, he is going to bless the seed, the generations to come through the one under the cover as well, who was sort of in limbo, going from one house to the other, back and forth. Okay? He's saying he recognizes, and he is causing some kind of shaking and a deliverance, and he's blessing his nation, that nation coming through him, and creating in him into the priesthood. Okay? It's restarting. There was a hold, okay, who nobody was qualified, and Yahuwah the Most High is seeing that someone is qualified, even though there was a ping pong interaction with the wicked. He saw his heart's devotion to the Most High, and he's restarting. Okay, and he gave that example through the bloodline of Eli, Zodok, Phinehas, and then Abishua. Okay, so 1 Chronicles 6:5. And Abishua begot Buki, and Buki begot Uzi. Of the 5 succeeding names, Buki, Uzi, Zerahiah, Merioth, Amariah, it may be said that they reappear in the list of Ezra 7, but that little or nothing else is known of them. Supposes that the change of priesthood family to Ithamar took place after Merioth, but it just as probable that the gap between Abishua and Eli, or possibly even between Phinehas and Eli, was filled by holders of the high priest office unknown by name to us. Matthew Henry's concise commentary. Now I'm going to give more insight through that commentary. Genealogies. We have an account of Levi in this chapter. The priests and the Levites were more concerned than any other Israelites to preserve their descent clear and to be able to prove it, because all the honors and privileges of their office depended upon their descent. Now the Spirit of Yahuwah calls ministers to their work without any limit as to the families they came from. And then as now, though believers and ministers may be very useful to the church, none but our great high priest can make atonement for sin, nor can any be accepted but through his atonement. There's been an atonement. There's been sincere repentance being made by the one under the blanket. Okay? He has realized he had to make a decision. Okay? He had to make a change. And he chose the correct path. Hallelujah. This is a big deal. For those of you who have been praying for those to turn to the Father, our Heavenly Father. Okay, so 1 Chronicles 6:50. And these, the sons of Aaron, Eleazar his son, Phinehas his son, and Abishua his son. Do you see this? This is the bloodline of the Levites. It goes first to Aaron, Eleazar his son, Phinehas his son, Abishua his son. It's on that Kohan bloodline, Levite bloodline, royal priesthood, high priest bloodline. So for those of you that have been wondering, what tribe do you represent? He's making it clear here. That's what you get in the secret place with the Most High to confirm. This is not just any tribe here, okay? This is a very significant group. This is the cross-reference topical research Strong's Concordance, okay? And it references 1 Chronicles 6:35, Matthew Henry concise commentary. That's why when the Bible speaks about genealogies and it sounds a bit tedious to read, you go into and you don't understand it, of course, because the Bible is in mystery. You need to go to the commentary so that you know what it's talking about, because there's hidden message within, and it's humongous information here. It's like quite pivotal of what it's saying, okay? We have an account of Levi in this chapter. The priests and Levites were more concerned than any other Israelites to preserve their descent clear and to be able to prove it, because all the honors and privileges of their office depended upon their descent. Now, the Spirit of Yahuwah calls ministers to their work without any limit as to the families they came from. And then, as now, through believers, ministers may be very useful to the church. None but our great high priest can make atonement for a sin, nor can any be accepted but through his atonement. Okay, so basically those who are in the Levite, clan, they are the ones who performed the sacrifice for the Most High. They are the ones who were the ministers, the ones who sang songs and worship, the ones who played instruments, the ones who typically received income through the offerings, right? They were able to eat of the offerings. When they received money offerings for the Most High in the temple, they were paid through their service. So this is stating right now that those who are in the Levite are going to have a ministry in their life where the Most High is going to provide income. Okay? And it has a lot to do with the ministry in their calling. Okay? Okay, 1 Chronicles 9:20. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, was the ruler over them in time past, and Yahuwah was with him. 1 Chronicles 6:54. Now these are their dwelling places throughout their castles and their coast of the sons of Aaron, of the families of the Kohanites, for theirs was the lot. Wesley notes for 1 Chronicles 64 commentary 654, castles so called not only because walled and well guarded by the country, but because they and their possessions were in a particular manner the care of divine providence, as Yahuwah was their portion, so Yahuwah was their protector.